Okay, so this is the 2017 on the pilot, and speedometer stopped working. So I have to take out the dashboard and put stop. Get started on work.
All right, so I just showed you guys what I came across when trying to research a instrument cluster removal on a 2017 Honda Pilot. And it just looked completely absurd, the amount of work people were doing and what it takes to take the instrument cluster out of the dash on this Pilot. Now to show you, I've got mine loose, but if I back out, I have not gone ahead and torn apart the complete dash, got everything all torn apart like all those videos out there, or forums, or anything I looked. I don't understand what the heck they were thinking or why they did as much as they did. When I seen the final steps of the people removing the bezel, let's call it, I just didn't understand why simply you couldn't just move some of this trim and release the bezel. So because of that, I'm going to do a how to remove instrument cluster out of a Honda Pilot 2017. I'm sure 16, 18, some of those would probably be the same. So for starters, I'll just give you a shot of what secures this bezel. And it's just a few clips around the edge. There is no screws, so you don't have to access any screws, especially here at the bottom. There's no ears or tangs hanging down. Now, you will have to pop this cover off of the upper clamshell, let's call it, on the column. But again, it's clipped in. You just get in there with a tool and pry it up. There is also a connector, which you can get to after you pull the bezel out. As far as how you do that, it's nothing crazy. I don't know why people are tearing the whole dash apart. But if you look, that's clipped in, that's clipped in. And this guy, there's a clip there. You don't even have to mess with the trims, tearing that up. Not even this little ear here. I thought I was going to have to pop that off, but that doesn't even come off. So all you have to do, because this lives here, you lift this off, you get behind here with a suitable tool so you don't mess up the dash, get in there, pop it back, and then the same here. Now this one, I'll admit, it's a little bit tight, but you can tell I got it unclipped from there, that white clip. So you just get it back, it'll pop out, and that is enough room to get the bezel out. Now on the top, you will have to get another suitable tool, skinny one, and then pop it back. But once you do that, boom, the whole thing comes off, and you have full access to the instrument cluster. Again, don't forget, you have to unplug that, but nothing crazy once it's loose. There are some screws on the cluster. I think it's 3 of them, so one here, and one here. Once those are loose, guess what? One plug back here, and then you're done. You can go ahead and replace your cluster. So I've got a used unit, but these, I think you can do them used, but you're going to have to do either some board work or some programming type or transfer info type with tools. So I'm going to see which works. But the reason why I am doing it on this one is for, I guess, what's considered the speedometer or digital display speedometer. You can tell it's all the display is not correct. It's not complete. So this one is gonna get a replacement, But if you see, we've got 96, 184. I don't know how many this has, but the main thing that you have to do is match them up by part number, and it's on this bottom sticker. The one I have, it's the 78100-TG7-A260-M1. So a lot of them that I was finding matched the first two segments up to the 7, and it had an A and then different numbers after that. So you just got to be careful. You got to match them up because you'll have different equipment related to ADAS with lane departure, pre-crash, all that stuff. Some don't have the silver bezel inside. So you have to match up the correct one in order for everything to work and display properly. So now we're going to go ahead and figure out which way to quote-unquote program this and get this used one to work without any issues. Alright, so here we go. We are powered up. We've identified the vehicle, 17 Honda Pilot, and no faults, especially in the cluster. We can go in it, communicate, and let's see. For right now, that speedometer looks to be completely not lit up, but so I just took a screenshot of the main module information, let's call it, just out of security or to make sure. Let's see if there's anything here. Alright, so in special functions, we got this instrument control module replacement tab. Let's go ahead. And so now we've got read data, write, and let's see, gauge, lock, release. Now I'm going to assume that since we have the original one on there, if we go through the procedure of read data, it'll pull out the data, store it on the tool itself, kind of hold it. Then we swap them out and then hit write data. I'm hoping that's all that needs to be done to convert this one to the one that we have. So we're going to try to do that first, which would be our easiest path. Not too much hard, difficult work. Let's see if it'll help us finish the job. Let's see. Interesting. So before we hit OK, so this is going to tell us that if we go ahead and read the data of the module, of the cluster with the tool, we only get one shot to pull the data. It cannot be rewritten after that, and it will turn the display for odometer to dashes, and it'll kind of render this basically useless unless you do some board work. The only reason why I know that is because I know a gentleman that ran into this problem, and he told me about the dashes that he got that he could not get rid of. But this tool bringing up this message helps me understand what possibly happened with his. So once I do this, I cannot do anything with that cluster. So let me hit cancel for right now. Alright, so before I continue, I've gone ahead and plugged in the used one. So I swapped the new one. That one is there on the bench, and I'll gear in a quick second. But I haven't powered this up yet. I hope to not create any issues, but I've got backups as far as I still have the original. I haven't done anything with erasing it by reading it with the scan tool, like the message that we saw. Now, right now, I'm gonna power it up, and I guess double check first of all the speedometer, see what the mileage is and equipment wise. So let's take a look here. Alright, so For starters, our digital display speedometer is working. Our mileage is obviously going to be different. This one looks to be a little bit lower, but we want to match everything with the original. So I think before I complicate things, I want to try something to make it simple, and then we can explore other methods. Okay guys, so here I am clearly on the bench, and I decided to take a few different steps. Some are just in order to verify some of my tooling. Other steps is to make sure I don't get myself in trouble, and by saving data and so on and so forth. So what I want to do first to begin with, this is the original cluster. I took the backing off, the front cover and the needles, and then I've got the main circuit board. I've located the EPROM chip, which is going to have our mileage and information, whatever's important for it to be transferred over. I was able to actually read it in circuit, as you can tell here with the Autel. I don't always have great luck with the in circuit, but I'm going to save this and then show you. Okay, so I've saved it. I'm going to show you here on screen that I can actually read it, and I've set it to verify the read. So it's going to do 2 reads. That way I know 100% that whatever I do read is going to be legit and not corrupt. So here's the second read. If the machine spits out data, that means the two reads did match. And so I'm not going to save that one because I've already have. But now I've got the important information data saved and backed up before I go any further with any type of work and can possibly create an issue where I lose the data before anything. So at this point, I'm free game to try things. One of them is going to be with the tool. But again, if I would have read that with the tool, possibly could have wiped this out. If the tool did have capabilities to read the data, it would wipe this out and not let me be able to pull this data with the mileage, anything, because it wipes it out once it reads it and stores it on the tool. If for some reason the tool cannot write to a used cluster and it's meant only for a new cluster, then I cannot do anything with the original EPROM because I cannot pull the file because it would have wiped it out at that point. So again, I hope you're following me. I'm going to mess around, play around, and part of it is to show you guys how you guys can perform this job if you run into this. Alright guys, so the next step, since we've got our information secured, I wanted to show you a couple different ways of getting a cluster replacement done and done correctly. So we've got our used one. This is our original one. This is the backing that you got to take off. There's a few screws, nothing crazy. Then the clear plastic cover, this surrounding bezel. When you get the clear plastic cover, you'll have to pop out the needles, take picture or mark where the needles line up when it's powered off, and be careful to try to not scratch the face. With that, this board will be in place of this rest of the carrier. This does then just pop out. You don't have to do those screws. That is for the screen. And then in order, if you don't have a tool, so this is the guide that is faulty, the display, or I am assuming. I'm assuming that this display is what's wrong and not an output on the board. And so what you could simply do is keep your board, and so you don't have to mess with any mileage and pertinent information for the cluster, because you then can simply get a donor get the carrier that has that screen, leave it, and then swap from your bad one, put the board on a donor board that has a good screen, and you should be good to go. So that's the first option, the quick, easy option, other than taking this apart and hoping to not cause any damage. It would be nice for this experiment to get the EPROM data off the used one, but I don't want to scratch this guy if I don't have to at the moment. And since I do have tooling, I'm going to go ahead and keep from opening this guy up, because I thought about simply swapping the board over onto the screen carrier and calling it a day. But for video's sake, education's sake, and helping you guys out sake, we're going to go ahead and try this way first. So DIY explained how you can get away. Now if we do have tooling, let's go ahead, hook this one back up, read with the scanner the data, which then will wipe out this mileage, and see if we can write it into there. Alright, so I've put the board back on the carrier. Nothing crazy there. Let's go ahead and power it up. We got our scan tool still connected. And there we go. Nothing's changed. And so now we'll go ahead and perform that procedure again. So we'll go back into cluster. Okay. Little special function. And there's that precautionary message again. So we'll hit OK. Alright, so not sure what it did. It's still at 96,000. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if it stored it. Let's go ahead and cycle the key. So again, this is why I was trying to make sure I save the data before anything happens, because we don't know if our tooling will work. So well, it's still at 96. I'm not sure if this actually did save it. I don't really want to go through that procedure again. Okay, so now we'll go through that special function again, and we'll go ahead and read data. Okay, so another precautionary, but it's telling us that the procedure is for it to read the original, and then it won't be able to be used because it wipes it out basically. But as you can tell, it keeps saying that it can be downloaded by the new instrument cluster assembly. It keeps referring to new, so I don't know if a used one will work, but if it wipes out our original one and it cannot write a used one, then I'd be stuck, because then I have no original data to pull off of the chip. So let's hit OK, I guess. Okay, so some more precautionary, so it's pretty good that it's walking us safely. Okay. Wow, there we go. So we've wiped out our original cluster. Completed. This was his gauge. Replace the assembly and perform right. So let's hit OK. let's say goodbye completely to this one, which with factory tooling or anything, it is rendered useless. There's that screen display, you can see it. Alright, let's go ahead. I'll try to do this one-handed. There's that one. Let's plug this one. And so this will be interesting. Obviously, it's my first time doing this. Don't get too many Hondas in here. Looks like this reach around's a little bit easier. Alright. Alright. Let's key it up. And so 89066. Let's go ahead with the write data. So the readout must be performed before executing function. Have you already performed readout? Yes. So despite this message, like an error that it could perform it, as you can tell, we have converted this one to 96,000 miles. Let's continue with this. Odd that it gives us that message, but let's back out. But I think we're good. And so now the module data information, like the identification, looks like also has changed. So that's the correct VIN number for this car, as you can tell down there. And yeah, it looks like we're probably good to go. No codes. Let's give it a whirl. Actually, let's cycle the key. Alright. RPM's working. Obviously our miles per hour is good. Everything else is fine. So that way, if you do have tooling, this launch is able to do it. We don't have to have crazy Honda expensive tooling. We don't have to open this up, and we have successfully transferred over a program, however you want to call it, all the data and information on this used cluster. Used is a possibility. Don't have to go completely new. And so if you don't have tooling that's capable, again, I've explained, you can get away by possibly just swapping out the screen carrier. And the last method that possibly if you would need to get out of a jam or just whatever which way, you can do some EPROM work. So right now we know this one is in a blanked out, unusable way. I've read that data and saved it. This is the blanked out data that we currently have, or that the cluster is in. So it's in that blanked out state. So okay, so we suppose we have our original one here opened. I'm gonna go ahead and write this one to the cluster. Let's see. Right, we hit OK. so successfully has been written, supposedly to this cluster. That's our backed up original OG file there. So now I'll unhook it, connect it back to the car, and see if it brings up to 96,000 miles. Alright, we'll go ahead and swap. So this one's been sitting powered off for a while. Here's the original one that supposedly is back to its original state. Let's go ahead and unplug this one. Alright, so moment of truth. We'll find out. Let's power it up. There we go. So, if you do get in a jam, you are able to do EPROM work and get out of it, pending that you do take that precautionary thing beforehand and pull the data before any work gets done.